All right, so ready to ditch the usual tourist traps and uncover a real hidden gem in the Italian wine world.
Sounds intriguing. Lead the way.
We're diving deep into Marche today, a region you might not have heard of.
You're right about that.
But trust me, it's worth getting to know. Think stunning landscapes.
Nestled between the Adriatic and the Apennine Mountains.
Exactly. And the wines, oh, they're just as captivating.
Well, let's not keep them waiting any longer.
Right. We've got research, articles, even some firsthand tasting notes.
So research, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
So we'll be exploring the history, the unique grapes that thrive there.
And most importantly, why Marche deserves a place on your wine radar.
Okay, so I think a lot of people, myself included, picture Italy as one big boot.
With vineyards stretching from top to toe.
Yeah, and maybe like one generic sunny Italian climate. But it's not that simple, right?
Absolutely not. Every region has its own story to tell, its own personality.
And I bet Marche has a pretty fascinating one.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking about a winemaking tradition that goes back centuries.
Centuries. Like, how far back are we talking?
Think Etruscans, Romans, even before that, to a group called the Piscenes.
Wow, that's ancient history. Is there any evidence left of those early winemakers?
Well, get this. They've actually found remnants of their winemaking tools.
Wow, that's incredible.
It just goes to show how deeply rooted wine is in Marche's culture.
So it's like holding a piece of that history.
Exactly.
But I'm guessing Marche hasn't just been frozen in time since then, right?
Not at all. Their story keeps evolving.
So what happened after the Etruscans and Romans? Who carried the torch, so to speak?
Well, during the Middle Ages, monasteries played a crucial role.
Keeping the winemaking traditions alive.
Exactly. And then during the Renaissance, Marche wines really came into their own.
They flourished. I love that.
Yeah, it's a region that respects its past, but is always looking forward.
Yeah, you can't talk about wine without talking about terroir.
Right, that magic combination of soil, climate, and landscape.
Which all work together to shape the taste of the wine.
Exactly. And Marche's terroir is truly unique.
So spill the secrets. What makes it so special?
Well, it's that interplay between the Adriatic Sea and the Apennine Mountains.
Creating what?
Like a mosaic of microclimates.
Interesting. So you have warm sunshine from the sea, cool mountain breezes.
Which is ideal for growing a variety of grapes.
And what about the soil? Does that add to the mix too?
Oh, absolutely. Think of it like a tapestry woven with threads of clay.
Okay, I'm listening.
Limestone and sand. Each soil type brings its own unique personality to the wines.
You had me at tapestry.
For example, the clay soils in the Asino Valley, where they grow a lot of radicchio, give those wines a certain minerality, a real backbone.
I love those minerally whites, so that's good to know.
So yeah, it's all these elements. Get ready for both. You'll find some familiar Italian names, but with a unique Marche twist. Take Montepulciano, for example. You might know it from Abruzzo, where it produces those big, bold reds.
I do love a good Abruzzo Montepulciano.
But in Marche, it takes on a more elegant, almost Burgundian character.
Hold on, Burgundian. You have my attention now. So it's not just the same grape copied and pasted into a different region. What makes it so different in Marche?
It's the terroir, of course. The coulee climate, the limestone-rich soils.
Ah, so it's the same grape, but a completely different expression.
Exactly.
All right, I'm adding Marche Montepulciano to my list. What other reds should I be looking out for?
Well, no exploration of Italian wine is complete without Sangiovese. It might be Tuscany's darling.
But it makes its way into other regions, too.
Right. In Marche, Sangiovese shines in the Rosso Piceno DOC, producing wines with bright cherry fruit, floral notes, and a lovely, earthy backbone.
Okay, I'm sensing a theme here. Familiar grapes, but with a distinct Marche personality.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else on the red side before we move on to the whites?
Oh, we can't forget La Crema di Moro d'Alba.
La Crema di Moro d'Alba.
Meaning tears of Moro d'Alba.
Wow.
It's a rare, almost mythical grape that produces lighter-bodied reds.
Later bodies, so something different.
With these intense aromatics of roses, violets, even a hint of licorice. It's a really unique wine.
Okay, the name alone has me sold, but those aromas sound incredible.
Yeah, it really captures that essence of Marche's individuality.
Okay, let's switch gears and talk about the white wines. What does Marche bring to the table there?
This is where Marche truly shines. The star here is Verdicchio,
Verdicchio, okay.
responsible for some of Italy's most age-worthy white wines.
Wait, hold on. Age-worthy whites? Most of the whites I drink are meant to be enjoyed young and fresh. What makes Verdicchio so different?
Well, it's a combination of factors, really. Verdicchio has this naturally high acidity,
I like where this is going.
complex aromatics, and a unique structure that allows it to age gracefully.
So what kind of flavors can we expect as it ages?
Think citrus, green apple, almond,
Those are classic.
and a distinct flinty minerality that just deepens over time.
You've officially challenged my preconceptions about white wines. I'm impressed. But let's be honest, there's more to Marche whites than just Verdicchio, right?
Of course. We also have Passerina, known for its bright acidity, delicate floral aromas,
Sounds refreshing.
and a refreshing saline quality.
Saline. Like a hint of the sea.
Exactly. Some even describe it as tasting like a sea breeze.
I can almost smell the salt air now. Okay, what else should we be on the lookout for?
We can't forget about Pecorino.
Pecorino, the cheese,
Well, the grape, too. It's been experiencing a real resurgence in recent years.
a comeback kid. I like it. So what's special about Pecorino, the grape?
It produces wines with concentrated flavors of citrus, pear, herbs,
Those all sound lovely.
and again, that signature minerality we see in so many Marche wines.
Okay, so we've got these incredible grapes, a unique terroir, but how does it all come together? What's the winemaking scene like in Marche? Are we talking rustic charm or cutting-edge technology?
It's actually a fascinating blend of both.
Really?
Marche is a region where tradition meets innovation,
So you'll find winemakers who are doing things the way their grandparents did.
using ancient techniques like spontaneous fermentation with indigenous yeasts.
Wow, that's old school.
But then you also have those who are embracing modern techniques,
To fine-tune their craft.
like temperature-controlled fermentation,
Yeah, that's pretty standard these days.
and even things like cryo-extraction.
Cryo-extraction. Now that's a new one for me. What is that exactly?
It basically involves freezing the grapes before pressing.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Why would they do that?
It helps to concentrate those flavors and aromas.
Ah, so it's like intensifying what's already there.
Exactly. It's a technique they use for specific wines,
I see.
especially those made from aromatic varieties like Passerina.
Makes sense. Capturing all those delicate floral notes.
Exactly.
But with all this talk of different grapes and regions within Marche, how do you even navigate those Italian wine classifications? You know, the DOCs, the DOCGs, IGTs.
It can definitely seem overwhelming.
It does, especially for someone who's not a total wine geek.
Right, but once you understand the basics, it's actually quite helpful in figuring out the quality and style of the wine.
Okay, so break it down for me. Where do we even start?
Think of it like a pyramid.
I like visual aids.
Okay, so at the base of the pyramid,
The foundation.
you have Vini da Tavola.
Okay, Vini da Tavola. What's that?
Those are your everyday table wines, Not a lot of regulations there.
So the most basic level.
Right. Then one step up, you have IGT,
IGT.
Indicazione Geografica Tipica.
Okay, that's a mouthful. What does that mean?
It basically means that the wine comes from a specific geographical area.
So it has a sense of place.
But the regulations aren't as strict as the next level up.
Which is?
DOC Denominazione di Origine Controllata. This is where things get serious.
Serious how?
The wines have to follow specific rules about grape varieties,
Makes sense.
yields, and winemaking techniques.
So it's like a stamp of approval,
Yeah.
guaranteeing a certain level of quality and regional character.
Yeah.
But what about the top of the pyramid, the creme de la creme?
Ah, that's where you find DOCG.
DOCG. Tell me more.
Denominazione di Origine Controllata e Garantita, the highest level of Italian wine classification.
So these are the all-stars,
Absolutely. Wines that have a proven track record of quality.
and they represent the best of Italian winemaking.
You got it.
Okay, so now that we've got those classifications down, let's bring it back to Marche. Are there any key DOCs or DOCGs that I should be looking for on a wine list?
Oh, absolutely. There are a few that really stand out. Firstly, Verdicchio dei Castelli di Gesi DOCG, one of the first DOCGs awarded in Italy.
So it must be pretty special.
It is known for those crisp, mineral-driven Verdicchio wines we were talking about.
Those age-worthy whites.
Exactly.
What else? Any other DOCs or DOCGs I should know?
We also have Rosso Conero DOC, known for those elegant Montepulciano wines.
The ones with that Burgundian character you mentioned?
Precisely. And then there's Ofida DOCG, which is kind of a rebel.
Oh, how so?
It produces red, white, and sparkling wines, all under one DOCG umbrella.
That is unusual. Most denominations focus on one style, right? So why is Ofida different?
It's the terroir.
Always comes back to the terroir,
Right. You have rolling hills, valleys, even some coastal influences.
creating that beautiful mosaic of microclimates we were talking about.
Exactly. This allows them to grow a wider variety of grapes and experiment with different winemaking styles.
Okay, I'm intrigued. But you mentioned that Verdicchio de Castelli di Gesi was one of the first DOCGs in Italy. That's got to be significant, right?
It definitely is. It shows how dedicated they are to quality.
And how unique their wines are.
Absolutely. And within this DOCG, you'll find even more specific designations,
Like
Classico and Superiore.
adding even more layers to the story of Marche wine.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I need to know more. What do those terms mean?
Well, that's a great question, and it leads us perfectly into the next part of our deep dive.
I can't wait. So before we got sidetracked, we were about to uncover the mysteries of Classico and Superiore within Verdicchio di Castelli di Gesi.
Right. It's all about understanding those nuances.
Well, I'm ready to be nuanced.
All right, so imagine a map of the Verdicchio de Castelli di Gesi DOCG. Classico refers to the heartland,
The OG Verdicchio zone.
Exactly. It's the historic center where Verdicchio has been grown for centuries.
So it's like a guarantee of origin, a nod to tradition.
Precisely.
But what about Superiore? What does that bump up in quality actually mean for the taste?
Superior is like the overachiever.
I like overachievers.
These wines have to meet even stricter requirements.
Like what?
Lower yields, longer aging, often in oak barrels. It all adds up to a wine with more concentration, more complexity, and greater aging potential.
So we're talking about a more intense, more nuanced Verdicchio experience.
Absolutely. You'll often find more pronounced minerality, notes of almond and hazelnut, maybe even a richer texture.
Okay, you're making me want to open a bottle right now, but we have a lot more ground to cover. Earlier, you mentioned that Offida DOCG was a bit of a rebel, producing red, white, and sparkling wines. Most denominations stick to one style, right? So what makes Offida so different?
Well, it really comes down to the diversity of terroir within this particular DOCG.
We're back to terroir. I'm sensing a theme here.
Right. You have rolling hills, valleys, and even some coastal influence.
Creating that mosaic of microclimates that we keep talking about.
Exactly. And this allows winemakers to cultivate a wider range of grapes and experiment with different winemaking techniques.
That makes a lot of sense. So tell me more about those different styles within Offida DOCG. What kind of reds can we expect?
For reds, the king is still Montepulciano, but here in Offida, it's often blended with Sangiovese.
Interesting. So it's like a team effort.
Exactly. The Sangiovese adds a layer of elegance and complexity to those bold Montepulciano flavors.
So you're getting the power of Montepulciano with the finesse of Sangiovese. Sounds like a winning combination.
It really is. The wines tend to be full-bodied, with dark fruit, earthy notes, and a firm structure that benefits from some aging.
Okay, those sound perfect for a cozy night by the fire. Now, what about the white wines? What's happening on that side of Offida DOCG?
Ah, the whites. This is where you'll find those indigenous grapes shining, Passerina and Pecorino.
Two of our new favorites.
Offida is known for producing high-quality versions of both. Passerina brings that zesty acidity, those delicate floral aromas, and a hint of salinity.
Making it perfect for seafood.
Exactly.
And Pecorino.
Pecorino offers a richer texture with notes of citrus, white flowers, and a distinct minerality.
Reflecting those limestone-rich soils.
You got it.
So we've got those beautiful reds, those lovely whites, but you also mentioned sparkling wines. Now, I'm always up for some bubbles. Tell me more about Offida Spumante. What makes it so special?
Offida Spumante is a real hidden gem, I have to say.
All right, you've piqued my curiosity.
It can be made in both white and rosé styles, primarily using, you guessed it, Passerina and Pecorino.
Bringing those unique Marche flavors to the forefront.
Exactly. But here's where things get even more interesting. The regulations allow for a small percentage of Chardonnay and Pinot Noir.
Hold on, those are classic champagne grapes, right?
Yeah.
What are they doing in an Italian sparkling wine?
It's all about adding a touch of finesse, a little complexity to those already delicious Passerina and Pecorino base wines.
So they're blending the best of both worlds.
Precisely.
So what would you say are the key characteristics of Offida Spumante? Is it more fruity and playful or elegant and complex?
It's a lovely balance, really. You get delicate floral aromas, vibrant citrus notes, and that refreshing minerality we keep talking about.
So a real crowd pleaser.
It can be enjoyed on its own or paired with a wide range of dishes.
I'm sold.
Yeah.
Offida Spumante is officially on my shopping list. But let's shift gears for a moment. We've talked about the grapes, the wines, the classifications. But what about actually going to Marche? What's the experience like for a wine lover? Are we talking fancy tasting rooms or something a little more down to earth?
Marche offers a really authentic, immersive experience.
Okay, paint me a picture. What am I going to see? What am I going to feel when I'm there?
Imagine rolling hills covered in vineyards, charming medieval villages perched on hilltops, breathtaking views of the Adriatic coastline.
It sounds magical.
It truly is. It's a region that speaks to all the senses.
And what kind of wineries can I expect to find there? Big commercial operations or something a little more intimate?
You'll find mostly small, family-run wineries where tradition is passed down through
I
generations.
love that. It feels so much more personal.
Right. These are winemakers who are passionate about their craft, deeply connected to their land.
You can really taste that passion in the wines, can't you?
Absolutely.
And I bet the food is pretty amazing too, right? After all, we're in Italy.
Oh, the food is incredible. Fresh, seasonal ingredients, simple but flavorful preparations.
Give me some examples. What should I be ordering when I'm in Marche?
Well, you have to try the brodetto, a traditional fish stew that's different in every town.
Okay, that's on the list.
And, of course, you can't go wrong with pasta. Have you ever heard of Vincis Grassi?
Vince's Grassi, that's a new one. Tell me more.
It's like a layered lasagna, but instead of the classic bolognese sauce, it has this rich ragu made with different meats.
Different meats, like what?
It often includes chicken livers, sometimes even truffles.
Okay, my mouth is watering. And I bet a glass of Rosso Carnero would pair beautifully with that. But let's get back to the wine for a moment.
Mhm.
We've covered so much ground today. What are some key takeaways for our listeners who are now eager to explore the world of Marche wines?
I think the most important thing is to be open to discovery.
To embrace the unknown.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to try something new, something you might not be familiar with. You might just find your new favorite wine.
It's all about the adventure, right?
Absolutely. Marche offers such a diverse range of wines, from those crisp Verdicchios to those bold Rosso Carneros. There's truly something for every palate.
Well, we're almost out of time for this segment of our deep dive, but before we move on, I have to ask, if you could recommend just one Marche wine for our listeners to seek out, what would it be?
That's a tough one. There are so many great options.
I know, right?
But if I had to pick just one, I'd go with Verdicchio dei Castelli di Gesi Classico Superiore.
A classic choice, and for good reason.
It really embodies everything we've talked about today. The history, the terroir, the unique character of Marche wines. It's a wine with depth, complexity, aging potential.
It's a wine that will transport you to Marche.
Exactly.
Well, I think our listeners are ready to embark on their own Marche wine adventures, but before they do, we have one more segment to go. We'll be right back after a short break to discuss some specific producers and bottles that will help you start exploring this hidden gem of Italian wine. Okay, we're back, and I'm ready for some actionable intel. Give me the names, the producers, the bottles I can actually hunt down.
All right, let's start with Verdicchio since we've been singing its praises. If you're looking for that Classico Superior magic, look for producers like Garofoli or Bucci.
Garofoli Bucci, got it. But are we talking about wines that are going to break the bank? Because iconic sometimes translates to expensive.
Not necessarily. You can find great bottles from both producers for around $20 to $30.
See, now that's what I like to hear. Value and quality, Marche's got it all. All right, Verdicchio's covered. What about those delicious Rosso Canero reds and these specific producers you recommend there?
Oh, absolutely. For Rosa Canero, check out Moroder or Literatz. They're both doing fantastic things with Montepulciano, really showcasing its elegance and aging potential.
Moroder Literaz, adding those to the list. You mentioned earlier that Moroder is known for its organic and biodynamic practices.
They are. It's something they're very passionate about.
But what does that actually mean for the taste of the wine? Is it just a marketing buzzword, or does it actually make a difference?
Oh, it makes a huge difference. It's about working in harmony with nature, letting the grapes express themselves fully.
So you're saying it's more than just a trend, it's a philosophy that you can actually taste in the wine.
Exactly. These wines often have this vibrancy, this purity of fruit that's really captivating.
Okay, I'm sold. I need to get my hands on some of these biodynamic Marche wines. But before we wrap up, any suggestions for where to start with those unique La Crema di Mora del Balds?
For La Crema di Moro d'Alba, look for producers like Vicari or Marchetti. They're both doing exceptional work with this grape.
Vicari Marchetti. Okay, my to-try list is officially a mile long. But we've covered so much ground today. From ancient history to modern winemaking techniques, from iconic producers to hidden gems. What's the one message you want our listeners to take away from this Marche deep dive?
I think it's this. Don't be afraid to explore beyond the familiar. There's a whole world of incredible wines out there, and Marche is a perfect example. It offers quality, value, tradition, innovation.
And a sense of authenticity that's hard to find these days.
Exactly.
So to our listeners, if you're looking for an Italian wine adventure that's off the beaten path, Marche is calling your name.
Start with a bottle of Verdicchio dei Castelli di Jesi Classico Superiore, maybe from Garofoli or Bucci, and let your curiosity be your guide.
You won't be disappointed. And on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive into the Marche wine region.
Remember, the beauty of wine is in the journey, so explore, experiment, and most importantly, enjoy.
Cheers to that. And to all of you out there, happy exploring.